Hello, my lovely little jack-o'-lanterns, and welcome to another stream. So today we are reviewing Chapter 7 of Siren's Call to audiobook, which is pretty long. So I may actually change this depending on how late it gets right now, because it's 10:30 for me. We may split Chapter 7 in half because it's really long. So we'll just see. We'll play it by ear. But we'll see how long it goes. I may only do an hour or 15 minutes. I may do 2 full hours. I don't know. It just depends. Since Chapter 7 is pretty lengthy, so we'll just play it by ear. And if I have to split it into 2 halves for 2 streams for Chapter 7, then so be it. So we'll play it by ear. So we're finally out of part 4. We're in part 5 called JabberWocky, which means trickster. So yeah, 3 likes. Who liked 3? There's 3 people. Who are these 3 people? Hello. There's 2 people now. Oh, okay. Interesting. 4 likes. 3 people. Hello? Wait, can I type in the chat? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. So let's just get into this because it's pretty lengthy already. So same thing. I'll read the titles and all that kind of jizzy jazz. All right. So we're 3 hours and 33 minutes into the book right now, into the audiobook. And according to the actual book, we are technically on page 156. So awesome. Here we go, guys. Turn it up. Yes, part 5, JabberWocky. Oh yeah. 1 sec. Okay. So yes, we're in middle of August, 1680, Denmark. So they finally made it to Denmark. All right. All 5 of us sat in Marquis' cabin as Cortez began to forge our documents of passage, as the Golden Bough was in port at Denmark. Cortez had followed us through the waters with his ship to Denmark, and occasionally we would dine together on Marquis' ship at night. Over the last month, I had gotten to know Cortez a lot more, and have come to enjoy his good company. He was a vivid storyteller and one for entertainment, and could make the crew hoot and holler till their bellies ached. I learned he spent most of his life in Cuba, selling the South American waters, and eventually made his way to Europe over time. Cortez sat at Marquis' desk with 3 pieces of yellowed paper spread apart. Black inked writing was scribbled down on 3 pages, revealing our information. It was a detailed description of who we were and where we came from in our last voyage. I took careful knowing to realize that Cortez was a specialized man in this art. He could forge almost any signature there was. I watched him as he carefully dragged a feathered quill laced with red designs of swirls across the document, signing the signature Van der Verliet, the Dutch king residing in Denmark at his mansion. I wasn't too sure if it was accurate, but the signature was neat and legible, and this meant it would fool the guards that the Dutch king had signed it before to let us back in Denmark, pretending we are visiting for a time. But we really were here to get a new ship and a mighty crew. After Cortez signed all the signatures needed, he grabbed a long blade of red wax. He held it over a candle flame for a few seconds, letting it drip dark red onto a napkin. Then he wiped his golden ring on his ring finger in it. The golden ring had a griffin, a magical mythical creature on top of it, and this was the pledge of his ship. He stamped his ring onto the paper, and a red mark of the griffin sat at the bottom. He blew on it with his chubby lips and handed each of us the paper. "There you have it, a forged document, vanderly at your presence." He snickered and laughed lightly. Marques smiled. "I told you he was a man of forgery." I nodded. "I see that. Thank you, sir." I firmly shook his hand as did Dan and Tim. "Not a problem at all. Read it out loud so we know it's proper and official," Cortez said in a satisfaction from his work. I looked down at the paper. "Read it, Henry," Daniel ushered me. My eyes scanned the paper. It reads, "On the 27th of August, 1680, the year of our Lord, this document hereby represents the jurisdiction and the proper documentation of one man, Henry Hartstone. Born in London, England, in the year of our Lord, 1652, aged 28, last aboard the Golden Bough under the care and command of Marquis de Lafayette, the captain of said vessel, sailing across the African and Danish coasts. This document accounts for that I will not commit an act of piracy, murder, theft, rape, lie, or cause any disruptive demonstration to the public of Denmark. Signed by the Dutch King of the Council of Cape Town and Cape Cod, leader of the Dutch colony in the country of Denmark." Daniel grinned. "Mighty fine craftsmanship, Spaniard. Only from the best." He laughed. "And you're sure this will get us through?" Timothy questioned, a bit worried. Cortez casually walked over to the young man and swung his arm around his neck. I wouldn't have done this if I thought it wouldn't work. No need to fret, young amigo." This made Timothy smile happily, and he became less worried. Marquis walked from his desk, passing by the bay glass window, looking out into the back of the ocean, gleaming bright in the sun, and opened up his cabinet full of wine and brandy. "Since this is the day you are departing, we shall raise a toast in good health and good journey." Marquis smiled at all of us. "Aye, I certainly agree, sir." Daniel smiled for the wine, and I knew Big Dan was getting mighty comfortable with the French wines now. I myself quite enjoyed them as well, mainly the whites. Marquis streamed his hand across the many selections of wine bottles in the cabinet made from redwood. "Preference?" he asked us all. "No, pick what you like," Timothy said. The Spanish man raised his arm. "Ah, I prefer a rich brandy, Frenchman." Marquis cracked a grin as he picked a red wine out and pulled out a clear glass bottle of golden whiskey. I assumed Cortez preferred a stronger taste of drink, and I knew Daniel did too. Marquis assembled a group of glasses and poured 4 of them with red wine and then 1 with brandy. He handed each of us a glass as I folded my document and slipped it into my wall pocket. We raised the glasses. "Let us toast, gents, to good health, to let us not be taken from the law, and to not be dragged down to the seabed where the seaweed lives. For I wish these 3 young men, who have been traveling with me for 6 months, a good start and a well journey for what they are about to embark on. Not only am I going to miss them as a help around the ship, but I will miss them as my friends." Marquis smiled, aiming his glass at all of us. Tears hit my eyes a little from sadness of leaving this French captain behind. I had no idea when our paths would cross again, but I know I am going to miss him. He was a good man, a farmer, and had a bright heart. "To sailing the seas forever, and fuck the law who won't let men like us be free," I shouted. We laughed, clinked our glasses together, and drank. The wine hit my taste buds with a bitter flavor, and it sailed down my throat with wetness. Cortez blinked a few times and coughed through the strong brandy. We set the glass down. "Come," Marquis ushered us forward. "It is time to depart, gents." We all followed Marquis out of his cabin through the narrow hallway and up onto the deck in the sun. The crew was making sure all the cargo was in check. They had gotten new cargo and were ready to head back into open water. I could see the ship docked at the docks, the anchor in the sea stopping the boat. Past that was a stone-bricked wall that extended up past the dock and traveled into the city of Denmark. Following that stone wall, it kicked back into the mighty Danish city, where the city was filled with buildings stretching tall into the heavens. From bell towers to cobblers, blacksmiths, shoemakers, whorehouses, bakeries, taverns, treasuries, and markets, this city reminded me of London of the like. I could hear people faintly moving about in the city, and sailors crowded the decks in the harbour below, loading on shipments to other dock ships next to us. Marquis had his crew drop a rope ladder over the edge as it clattered to the dock below. We faced the French captain. I could see just a few tears on his eyes, just the edges. but he held them back. His black tawny mustaches were more thicker now, from not shaving recently, and his black hair was frizzy atop his head. He wore a beautiful purple coat over a royal blue shirt and red pants and brown boots. He looked at me with those grey eyes full of stern and gripped my shoulders for a second, and then embraced me into a hug. Good luck, boys. I have faith in you, and will be praying for you through Jesus Christ. It has been a pleasure to have you aboard my ship. Rocky grinned. It has been absolutely wonderful, sir. Thank you for taking us in and saving our skins. We owe you, I said. He put up his hand. You owe me nothing. Daniel, what your rivers do? He met my intent. Like a shark. He laughed. A spectacular time getting to know you, Captain. Mighty fine wine and ship you have. She is, he smiled. Of course you're welcome back anytime. And my greatest of gratitudes. Cortez approached us smiling with his black beard. Even though our time was short, it was a good time knowing you three. Lovely lads, you'll always be the amigos, and if we cross paths again, don't hesitate to offer up a little chat. Of course, I smiled. Thank you for helping us. Of course, I enjoy eating many nasty though. He laughed. I snickered as Timothy looked around the deck. Where's my love? Him saying that made me think of Anastasia. I hadn't seen her in a while. As if on cue with my own thought, both women ascended from below deck, each wearing an intricate, gorgeous dress. Eleanor fell into Tim's arms and kissed him passionately. After the kiss, he said, My love, I'm going to miss you so much. Eleanor had tears running down her cheeks with her runny nose. I'm going to miss you too. I love you, my young sailor, with all my beating heart. Please come back to me. I will wait for you. Of course, my darling. I will sail the 7 seas to get back to you. I will return. Tim smiled through tears and kissed her again. Seeing this made my heart sting, missing my love Brita all the way back in Norway. It has been 2 years since I'd seen her, and I miss her dearly, and lust for her body upon mine, and her lips on my skin. This was not the matter at the moment. Seeing Timothy so happy and sad with this woman made me happy for the young man. He has come a long way. Anastasia approached me and grabbed my hand. Her hands were so soft in my hands. Thank you for everything. I smiled dryly. There is no need to thank me. You're a strong girl. Do not let any man own you. I will not. She smiled and hugged me, and I felt a pluck of sadness leaving everyone behind. I had formed great bonds with Marquis, Anastasia, and the French crew, and now Cortez. It was sad to leave them in the ship that I had been sailing on for 6 months. I felt like I was leaving my daughter behind. She left the hug and went back under the deck. Eleanor stayed by Tim, holding his hand. Tim pulled out his forged document. You're sure this will pass? Yes, it will. The guard at the docks may ask you a few questions that I didn't state on there. Just lie and you should be fine, and don't look too suspicious, Cortez said. Marquis had a maid bring him a glass of pink wine, and he sipped it in the hot wind. Well, we should be setting sail soon. Lads, it's been an honor. Marquis smiled. Farewell, mates. I smiled, and me and Daniel and Tim began to descend the ladder. Tim kissed Eleanor. I love you. And he climbed down the rope ladder to the deck. I love you too, she screamed out to him. Daniel was next. See you later, Frenchie, he cackled. I gripped the rim and placed on the foot of the rope ladder and held with my free hand on the rim of the golden bow. Marquis and Cortez faced me while the crew tied the rigging and let the sail down. Thank you, sir. You'll always be one of my most trusted mates, I grinned. Marquis smiled, taking a sip of wine. As well as you, Englishman. You were friends with the French captain. How's that for you? If you'll excuse me, I have a lovely rosé to drink. He laughed. He laughed and walked off onto the deck. I smiled through the tears, leaving the new friends behind. But we had gotten a new goal ahead of us. The 5 letters of marque, a crew and a ship. I propped down onto the deck next to Dan and Tim. Going to miss him, Daniel said, then his eyes widened. Wait, we have no money. What about the coin? Daniel was right. We hadn't gotten any coin before we left. My heart raced, but then I felt something in my pocket. I reached out into my breeches and pulled out a bag of leather. I untied the string that held it together and could see over 2,000 small gold coins inside. I smiled widely. He must have slipped it in when he hugged me. Clever Frenchman, Daniel laughed. I tied the coin bag back and slipped it in my pocket. Now we had money to buy a ship and pay a crew and get a place to stay and eat. I peered across the wooden deck with sailors carrying cargo, women watching their tiny children run along, playing around and laughing. So, where do we go? Tim laughed quietly. Daniel gazed at the stone wall, where a guard in a green jacket holding a musket and a green cap stood. I'm guessing up that stone staircase where the guard is. All right, lads, get your paper ready. We can do this. I slowly pulled out my document, holding my forged scripture, and examined it once more to make sure everything was in order. It seemed legible and up to the task, so we slowly began to walk through the dock, leaving the golden bough in my boots, changing from wood to stone. Me and Daniel and Timothy passed people running about, children laughing along beside the brick wall and chasing each other with sticks and toys. Women in white dresses and different jewelries watched anxiously at the kids as they played, not wanting them to slip in the ocean. Sailors of different race and black slaves, chained like dogs around their necks, passed by us carrying supplies. In the harbour, we walked up the stairs and came to the top. I gazed to my right to see the golden bow about to weigh anchor and sail out to open water, along with the other ships in the dock. I turned to my left to see a giant archway made of stone bricks and moss adorn the cracks of the rock. A green-jacketed musketeer stood at the entrance, holding his musket still at his left, darting his eyes at the different people passing in and out of the city. Get ready, lads, I muttered to Dan and Tim quietly. We approached the guard. I met his eyes as I came to the front of him. He smelled of alcohol and smoke, so I assumed what he was doing the night before. I smiled at the man. Do you speak English, sir? I do. I am a guard protecting the city of Denmark, so I need to be enveloped in languages of all kinds. He said steadily, not smiling back at me by trying friendly gesture. Well, that's wonderful because we are from London, England. I smiled. Who are you? He asked. My name is Henry Hartstone. These are my two friends behind me. I said, smiling still. Do you have documentation? He asked me. Of course, my good man. I said, trying to act normally. I reached out my hand with Cortez's forged signature. The guard set his musket to his side, leaning it against the stone wall, and took the document in both hands and gazed down at it. My heart raced nervously as he carefully examined the fine paper. After a few anxious minutes, he looked up at me. May I see your friend's documentation? What are your two names? Daniel pushed past me, handing him the paper. Daniel Ogsworth, sir. Timothy did the same. Timothy Beggar, sir. The guard began to read all three, tracing his pupils from one paper to the other. All three of us stared anxiously at the musketeer, waiting for either a pass-through or a jail cell. The guard looked up at us three. You're from London, correct? Aye, we are English folk, Daniel said quickly. What was your last voyage? From where were you travelling to? I could see you come on a different boat, a French boat. And you're in English, so why are you travelling with a French captain? He questioned. Oh, well, we were sailing with an English ship, the Delta Roll, when she sank under, and they picked us up and saved us, I smiled. The musketeer nodded. I see. So you are part of the Golden Bough. Are you leaving it? We are leaving it to the rest of Denmark for a time, Tim added on. What are your well-doings here in Denmark? He asked sternly. I eyed Daniel and Tim and turned back to the guard. We have no plans of piracy or commissions of crime. We are solemnly here to enjoy the city, drink out of the taverns, and sleep with whores. Sounds like a great time to me, Daniel snickered. But lads, my love is only for Ella. I elbowed Tim, who went quiet. The musketeer eyed Timothy. Your love? You have a woman? I looked nervously at Tim. He gulped. Aye, sir, I do. She's back in London. He lied quickly. The guard nodded. Interesting. What was your stations aboard the Golden Bough? All of us first mates to the captain, I quickly said. The musketeer looked at our papers and I watched his eyes flow down to the signature from the Dutch king forged by the Spaniard. My heart raced as sweat travelled down my forehead, but I couldn't quite tell if it was from nerves or the sun. It's signed by Van der Velida. You've been to Denmark before, he questioned us. I tried to think of a lie, but Daniel stepped in. Yes, we have. Back in 1664, a while ago. Merely just visiting, sir. Now, how about you stop pestering us, you insufficient cockerel, and let us through? We're just here visiting for a time. My eyes widened as Dan's response and worry filled my heart if we would be thrown in prison. Me and Tim stood behind Daniel as he stared down the musketeer who stared him down. Their eyes didn't move from the stare. I could see the guard shivering a bit, for Daniel was a big fellow and intimidating when he gets a temper. Very well. Welcome back to Denmark, gentlemen. And he handed us our papers back. I folded mine up and put it in my pocket, and we passed through the stone archway into the city. Once my boots passed through the opening and into the town, my eyes were filled with wonder. I focused my sight on the harbour behind me, dotted with big wooden ships of black, red, blue, golden, white sails. Their sails were rigged up, and some with their sails pushed out. And the sailors on the deck and off on the decks were talking, laughing, and lifting heavy crates. The city of Denmark was a wonder, filled with many buildings made from brick, logs, and stone from mountains, with chimney at tops of the black shielded roofs. The chimneys carried smoke from fires in the house high above. The sun shined bright upon the city, giving it a light of gold. The street was a mixture of hay, dirt, and cobble, extended in various directions to the front, right, left, and behind. Big black and blue carriages clattered on by, with big white and brown horses strapped to the front as people rode by us, the big wheels smacking against the bumpy rocks. I could hear the snort of horses, the laughter of people, and the moans of women. Many of the shops of kinds were like pubs and butchers sat to my left, lined with salted meats and fresh-grown vegetables. As we walked, we passed by many people and women and children going through the town, all in outfits such as fine coats, jackets, linen, colourful shirts, and leathery pants. I could hear various languages such as French, Dutch, and English being shared around me, meaning this town is well versed in the culture of others. I could hear the caller bells in the harbour behind me, laughs in the taverns, the giggles of kids running amok by just chasing frogs, and the mothers trying to control their children. We took a left on the street, and a column of green-jacketed soldiers jogged by us in a line carrying muskets. Lovely city. I'm dying for a drink, lads. Where can a man get one? Daniel asked us. I grinned, pulling out a bag of gold shillings Marques had provided us. Let's find a tavern. It didn't take long at all to find a tavern in the city, for they were on every corner. From the outside it looked folksy, homey, and beautiful. Logs and hard wooden pillars make up most of the building's outer structure. It was hard to see through the large stained glass windows, but the excitement from within could be felt outside. As we entered through the tavern through the decorated wooden door, we were welcomed by the smell of alcohol and cheerful singing. The bartender is engaged in conversation. It's as enchanting inside as it is on the outside. Wooden beams support the upper floor and the rows of small candles attached to them. The walls are decorated with mounted animal heads, hides, and small animals. It's clear the owner is an avid hunter, and the smells coming from the kitchen indicate that animals don't go to waste. The tavern itself was packed. Workers seem to be the primary clientele here, which is often a good sign. Several long tables were occupied by happy, excited groups of people. Some were dancing on the table while others cheered them on with clapping and yelling. The other smaller tables are also occupied by people who seem to be strangers to each other, all sitting here because there are no other seats. Though they all clearly enjoyed each other's company. Even most of the stalls at the bar are occupied, though nobody seems to mind more company. Light singing traveled through the tavern with an angelic female voice, and I couldn't help but smile to myself, for it reminded me when I met Brita in the tavern 2 years ago. I remembered our talks of ships, battles, music, and wine. I love and how we were going to get married in the future and have 2 kids of our own. It made my heart jump with joy and love for that life. A warm fire crackled in the back inside a stone hearth, giving the tavern warmth. We had no trouble ordering from the tavern owner, for he spoke English. We ordered 2 ales and a rum for Daniel, giving him 4 gold. We asked the man to deliver us some meats he was roasting in the back as we waited. We took a seat at a round wooden table with 4 chairs. I took a seat, and a window faced my right, a clear glass pane looking out on the cobble street as people passed by in carriages or were walking. Across the cobble was a big stone wall reaching 30 feet, and in the center was a big black metal gate locked shut. Behind the gate was a big white mansion in the back. I sipped my ale in the mug, tasting the bitter taste of beer. I missed it truly. All Marques had was wine, and although he was a Frenchman, I missed the taste of ale. As we sat and drank happily, I jerked my thumb at the window towards the big house. I'm guessing that's the place Vander Valida resides. Daniel stickered through his mouth.
Aye, it is the only giant house we have seen, and that's where all assholes like him live.
That's the man we have to get the letter of marque from, Timothy asked.
Aye, I said.
Well, how the hell are we going to do that? Tim asked worried.
Thinking on it, Dan said.
Tim sipped his ale in his wooden mug fast and set it down on the table. These 5 letters of marque. Tell me, which places do we have to acquire them?
Did you even listen to all what Marquis explained about? Daniel snickered. Were you too busy with your Latin making a cock? Tim's face grew red. No, I was listening. I just forgot. I laughed. Daniel, pull out the map.
He slapped his rum down and finished off his mug and reached for the rum bottle in the center of the table and poured him another. He sipped one sip and then reached behind him and pulled out a folded map. He then pulled out a compass. He spread the map about on the table until it was flat and I could see the entire continent of Europe and Asia on it. He set the compass next to the map. I peered at the empty 4th chair by my side, and it made me sad realizing that this is what we were doing with our captain in Ireland. Yet he wasn't here this time, and it made me miss the old man. The compass was right, with a red knob arrow in the center with north, south, east, and west. Black markings were etched in tiny lines around the circle, and it was encased in black metal. Daniel ran his hand over the map as I drank. He stopped his finger on Portugal, Spain.
Spain, Portugal. That is our first stop, he said.
There? Tim asked.
Aye, there, Daniel said.
Aren't there a lot of priories in Portugal? I asked. There is. The country of Spain is Catholic like France, so there should be a lot, Tim muttered. Daniel leaned back in his chair, creaking. I unstrapped my sword from my belt and set it on the table next to me, and Daniel and Tim did the same as me. Daniel laughed lightly and took another swing of his golden rum.
What's that laugh for? I asked. Fucking priory, lad. Spain full of them, praying to the Almighty. Not my passion, he groaned. It's a bunch of folk talk.
I knew Daniel was not a religious man, and me not being either. He was not happy about traveling to Spain to go to a church. I knew Tim was Christian, but he wasn't bothered by our beliefs against the religion. I sniggered. Think, Big Dan, if we go into a nunnery, for they will be all ripe and virgin. A smile formed around his black mustache.
Indeed, lad, you're right. Now I'm more excited about voyaging there.
Just think of it like that, I laughed. Now, where do we fetch the letter in Portugal? Alexander Leon XIII, the Pope of Austria and Spain. I know he lives in the main priory in the city. While they're having mass, that would be the perfect time to take it, Tim said.
Good idea, Timmy boy. Now,
Daniel ran his hand over the next place.
Greenland is the second place we go.
Is there even anything in Greenland? I questioned. All I knew of Greenland was it wasn't green. It was just covered in lush forests and mountains with tiny villages about it.
Aye, Greenland is a trading port and a brothel port as well, Daniel grinned.
Why is it called Greenland when it isn't even green? Ireland is green and there is no name in it that says it's green, Tim said. I have no inclination. Maybe that they gave it that name because the country itself is barren, I snickered.
Here's the thing. We don't really know who we are supposed to go after, except if he is the king or duke of the city itself. After Greenland, we head to Scotland, in which I'm very jolly about, Daniel laughed. They created ale, mate, I smiled. Aye, and I'm going to down that rich rum, he smiled.
I heard Scottish coast is lined with castles of old from the 14th century. Tim's eyes sparkled with thought.
Aye, they have castles from Edinburgh to Cork, lad, Daniel said. I know the King of Scotland is being controlled by our country at the moment, so we might encounter King Charles II, in which that would be easy to get.
You're right, good thinking, Dan. The other 2 places are Iceland and India, I smiled. India? Petty dances and markets full of beads and artifacts from Roman times.
He smiled happily. Right, me boy, Daniel smiled, drinking a sip of his rum.
So, those are the 5 places we must go to get each letter of marque from the Duke in those lands. Then we can track down Vivian once the bounty is cleared from us, I said. Where do you even think Vivian is hailed?
Tim wondered. Probably Africa or the Southern Caribbean. Daniel growled in hatred for the mermaid.
I knew Daniel hated the mermaid, and even though my heart was full of hatred for the creature for abandoning us on the burning ship, I still cared for her. Why do you hate her?
asked Daniel.
Daniel shot me a look of irritation, but towards the mermaid. He gulped his golden rum until his mug went dry.
She is nothing but a vile being that knows nothing of our common world. She belongs to the sea where the darkest of creatures roam. No matter what she appears to be or how beautiful she is not human.
Me and Timothy gave each worried looks. I leaned in, planting each of my elbows on the hard wood, my mug between my arms, my hands clasped together.
Look, Dan, I know, she's a creature unknown to us.
But she does have feelings, emotions, worries, fears, just like we do. Love, even.
I think she has love. I'm actually unsure about that notion.
But the fact is, she may not look like us, but deep down in the heart, she is like us. Daniel sat back, shocked from my words. Tim smiled.
Well spoken.
Daniel snickered and reached from the rum bottle, his eyes getting glassy.
Henry, I love you, but I just can't see past that tail. I shrugged.
You will eventually. Now, I want that gold and silver just as much as you two lads slobber over. But we need to find it first. We can't do that with the bounty on our heads. I agree, Tim smiled, drinking his ale, and took a deep swig on mine, tasting the bitterness. I coughed through the gulp and wiped my mouth from the tiny brown ale droplets on my lips and the foam of the head of the beer on my nose. I peered at the empty fourth chair. If only Samuel was here now. Daniel frowned as did Timothy. Boy, he was a good captain. Even though we crossed him in the end, I just wish he could have seen the mermaid before he died. I pointed my mug at him. Hey, we had no control over that. We did not know we were going to be attacked by tribals and Samuel was going to be... I choked, feeling tears forming in my hazel eyes. Anyway, he was a good man and a good captain. We need to honor him, and by doing this is finding Vivian, lads. Tim slammed his mug down. Aye! Yes. We all smiled and drank happily and clammed our mugs together. As fiddle music filled the tavern with delight, and I continued to sip on my ale, the meal we had ordered was brought to us. A lovely meal that was covered in salt and cumin. A steaming slump of lamb and a savory white sauce lay before me. We dug into the meat as I shoveled it into my tongue and swallowed in big clumps, tasting the rich lamb with the vinegar sour sauce with a white wine reduction. As I stabbed my fork into a piece to cut off the meat from the bone and pushed it between my lips, and then I went for the butternut squash and slammed that into my lips, tasting the sweet aroma of butter and cumin. I pointed my knife at Tim. "We're missing your lassie," I laughed. "Why?" he cried for his love. "It's only been 2 hours, lad," Daniel laughed, throwing his meat. "Perhaps, but I miss my darling," Tim frowned. "Boy, you'll see her soon enough." "I just know it," I said, drinking the ale. "You know what I'm going to miss, though?" And I grinned. "Hi, what's that?" I asked. "Marquis' fine wine, boys. Slap my cock and call me Jesus Christ himself. That was divine." Daniel smiled, remembering the sweet taste of the French wines. "You're not even a religious man, so that doesn't even make sense," I snarled in a joking manner. "Boy, I am not, but if Jesus was a winemaker, I'd be his mate." He laughed through the squash as he snapped off the stem with his teeth and gulped it. "Jesus did turn water into wine," Tim noted. Daniel stopped chewing and slowly looked at Tim, who was grinning widely. Tim knew quite a bit of biblical stories and tales from the Holy Book, but I never knew a single one. "Is that so? How do you know that?" Daniel snickered. "Is that one of your high-tailed Bible stories?" "It's written in the Bible," Tim said. Daniel almost choked on his rum. "Ah, is it now? Since when?" "Since, I'm not sure, forever, I guess," Tim muttered. "My God, lads, I need to meet this Jesus Christ," Daniel said. "There's plenty of priories in Spain. We will take you to one, like we took Tim to the whorehouse in Norway," I laughed, leaning back in my chair. Daniel had the most serious look on his face, which made me and Tim hoot even louder, and even some of the occupants raised an eyebrow at our laughter. Me and Tim calmed ourselves as Daniel slowly drank his mug. "What's wrong, Dan?" I laughed. Daniel set his mug down and cut into the lamb and began eating it. He spoke through his food. "So, Marquis was a religious man, right? Catholic, eh?" "Oh, no. You can't change the subject," I said, snickering. "I ain't changing it," he cracked. "Oh, you are. Whenever you're in the wrong, you change it," I laughed. The thing about Daniel Because he was right about most things. But when it comes to religion and government affairs, he's as slow as a sea turtle. Tim leaned in, sipping a mug full of smiles and eyes. He continued to look at his plate, chewing the meaty, drizzly corpse of the lamb. My God, I said, sitting back, is Daniel Ogsworth, the strongest man on the seven high seas, despising religion, becoming a religious man. Daniel burped through the air, and his bad breath slapped my nose, making me almost faint. Oi. Me and Tim laughed loudly. Daniel finally broke and laughed as well. Well, there's plenty of them churches where we're going, Tim said. You think Marquis has set sail yet? I questioned.
Most likely. I can tell he was aching to get back on the hunts to Africa for the gold, Daniel said. A pirate's life.
Yes.
We all grinned. I finally finished our meal and we drank more ale as the carriages rolled on by outside the window. I gazed out the window and my thoughts wandered to Brita. I missed her very much and wanted to hold her in my arms, and it was coming up on 3 years since I had seen her. You miss her? Tim asked. What? I asked. You miss Brita? Tim asked me.
I nodded. I do very much. I love her so, and I just need to hold her. There are times where I dream of her at night, and the dream is so real, so I can feel her body against mine and feel her touching presence. You'll get back to her. I mean, Norway is through Scotland. We could pick her up, Daniel said, but I cut him off. No, I don't want her to get involved in this. I don't want to put her in danger, I said. Are you positive? Tim asked. She could come along. I'll think on it, I said. We sat in silence, finishing our rum, as the tavern filled with light began to die down. It was getting mid-afternoon, and people were filtering out to go back to the ships in the bay. The tavern, now earlier filled with 100 laughing souls, was now down to 20. Daniel leaned in, making me and Tim lean in on the table, and we were in a small huddle around the oak table. We need a crew. Oi, a sharp crew too. Should we look for Dutch sailors? Tim questioned. No, we can't risk them reporting back to Van de Vagina. There probably is some English sailors hiding out here. We can find them, Daniel muttered. What about Swedish sailors? I asked. Aye, they're good. They know the Scottish Isles and Greenland and Iceland. We need to get us some Swedish men and maybe a Swedish girl. Daniel laughed. Dan, focus, I grinned. Aye, right, he said. We could also get in search of some Scottish sailors as well, Tim said. Good thinking, but the question is, how are we going to contract this foreplay? I asked. We'll figure that out tomorrow, lad. Let's start tomorrow and start gathering a crew before we head for Van de Vallita's private mansion, Daniel said. All right, lads, let's do this, Tim smiled. We slammed our mugs together and drank a thick swig and laughed together. Over the next hour, we drank and laughed over women in the prize of sinking a Finnish ship to the depths and all the gold and blood a man could want and spill. We left the barkeep a few gold shillings and headed out into the air. It was sunset by the time we left the tavern, and the sky was ablaze with a pink haze and the dark blue clouds over the town of Denmark. We were half drunk, stumbling along the streets, passing by men and women who were quite frankly, were drunk too. Within 47 minutes, us three, held up in an inn we found a few streets down from the tavern we were at. We had bought one big room for the three of us to the innkeeper and slipped him 30 gold shillings. The inn wasn't much, mainly just made out of birch wood and stone, and beautiful black stained glass windows. We walked up a staircase, stumbling a bit, and we made it to our room we were staying in. We unlocked the door with the black key, and we pushed through into the inn room. The room wasn't much, just 3 small beds with white sheets and pillows, and the floor was wood. A glass window sat in the back of the room, and it gazed down on the night of the town of Denmark, and I could see the tiny dots of glowing lanterns on the ships docked in the bay through the twinkling starred night sky. A small wooden desk cabinet sat in between each bed, very tiny, with a bottle of ink, a quill, and some paper for writing letters or tallies. We all three plopped into the bed, drunk and tired, laying there in silence. Daniel broke it first. He slurred through his words. So, we have get a ship and a crew. Aye, a brand new shiny ship. I smiled through glassy eyes. Daniel laughed. I want one with red streaks on the sides, and that would be the blood of my enemies. I slaughter down with my cutlass. Aye, we both laughed.
I turned over to Tim, who was laying in his left side, quiet as a mouse. Tim, you're awfully quiet. He didn't say anything at first, but then he asked, how do rainbows form? The question hit my mind with such intensity, I didn't quite know what to say. I looked at Dan, who was speechless, sitting up shirtless, and then I looked back at Tim. What? How do rainbows form, lads? Tim asked, rolling over to face us, smiling happily. His long blonde hair draped over his eyes, but he made no effort to move it. I don't know, I said, amazed. They're so beautiful. Tim smiled through happy tears. But really, how are they formed? The magical lines of color through the heavens. Me and Daniel's eyes widened in the shock of how beautiful rainbows are. To be honest, I'd never seen a rainbow before, ever. They are so beautiful, I still said. Truly one of God's most gracious creations, Daniel laughed. Oh, Dan, you believe in Jesus?
Oh, 1 sec.
Jesus Christ, Tim laughed. I wouldn't marry him if he created rainbows. Daniel laughed. I think he does make them, he yelled. Daniel screamed happily in his deep voice. I'll marry Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Yes, do it, lad, Tim laughed, and he then threw up. Vomit splashed onto the wooden planks near his bed, and me and Daniel laughed at the young lad, and then passed out on the white sheets of the inn bed, drunk, thinking of the magic of rainbows forming. I woke the next morning from the sun shining bright through the east window pane, and I could hear the muffled sounds of people moving about in the town and horse hooves clattering. I stretched my arms out wide and popped up my legs, planting my bare feet on the planks of the inn room. I yawned, rubbed the back of my neck, and stood up, balancing my tired body. I casually trotted over to the window with my wool breeches pasted onto my legs and gazed out onto the city of Denmark. My eyes darted between the clear glass pane, and I followed the tiny dots moving about through the cobbled streets as the sun shone high in the clouds upon this Danish land. Giant carriages bounced on the stone, being pulled by powerful muscular beasts as men and women walked from store to store enjoying the bright day. The ships were docked in the harbour, and some were setting sail, and I could hear the call of the bell ring from the top deck of the ships, even all the way up to the inn east window. Now, the ears of a sailor are mostly muffled from constantly being around cannon fire and musket pop, and even a sailor's ears will bleed from the sounds. But if you know where to avoid those deafening sounds, a sailor's ears are his best friend. You know when to notice an enemy ship bobbing towards your vessel, or the cock of a musket behind you, or the ringing sound of a sword being swiped to your throat. You just know. I turned my attention to my clothes, and I slipped on my white cotton shirt and tied the thread tightly, closing it up, blocking my chest. I let my brown hair flow down past my shoulders today. I splashed some cold water on my face from a water basin in the back and wiped my face with a white cloth as I looked at Dan and Tim still snoring in the bed. Oi, lads, awake! Come on, we got to get ourselves a crew today and secure how we are going to get a new ship. I yelled at my two mates. Daniel raised his hand above his head, his noggin halfway under his pillow.
Can't we just, do this in a couple of years?
I walked over to him, slapped his back, making him jolt. Daniel yelped and snarled. Damn, Henry! I'm sorry, but get on up. We need to get going, I muttered. Oi, oi, I'm up, lad, Daniel said, rolling on the bed naked, his penis dangling between his legs. I turned my vision to Tim, who coughed and snored under the white sheets. Daniel snickered as he trotted over to the bedside. I looked to the planks to see the orange vomit had hardened to the wood now from overnight air.
Delicious.
Daniel gave me a look of laughter and then jumped on the bed, taking a hold of Timothy's head and rubbing his long blonde hair. What the fuck, Daniel?
Come, young Timmy boy. Quit dreaming of your lassie sucking your round balls and get on up. We gotta get a crew. Daniel laughed.
Hold on, I gotta change the volume a little bit. I forgot that it was so much more vulgar than I remember. Jesus Christ. Alright, 1 sec. Can you hear it? Is it all good? Can you hear it fine? Okay, cool.
I wasn't dreaming of that. Get off me! Tim growled at the mighty big man on top of him, pinning him down on the sheets. Not until you say you were dreaming about it. You lying, Tim. Daniel laughed, and I put my brown long hair in a bun at the back of my head, tying it with a blue thread to keep it tight. All right, I was. I miss her. She was wrapping her tongue in my cock. There, you pervert. Daniel, let him go, I laughed. Daniel released from the grasp and bounced off the bed naked and slipped on his clothes. Tim groaned and sat up, rubbing his tired eyes. Are we going to the tavern? Tim yawned. Aye, we are. Get up and slip on your breeches. Let's go step into the sun, Daniel smiled. Within 30 minutes, we cleaned up, slipped on our clothes, grabbed some coin, ate some dry bread, and stepped out from the inn into the sunlight of the town of Denmark. I carried the golden coin bag in my wool pocket as it jingled at my side as we walked down the cobbled street. Is there a haberdashery around here? We need to change clothes, Tim said. Daniel cackled. Ha ha! We don't need to change clothes, lad. Sailors don't even wear clothes part of the time. Tim was actually right. We'd been in the same outfits for about a month with barely any washing to the linen, so I assumed we smelled like shit in seagull ass. I turned to Dan. Tim's right. We need to get a new set of fashion, I said. Daniel sniffed his underarms and then almost passed out. Ugh. Oh, you're right. Got the gold. I snatched out the bag of the golden medal and held it tight in my hands. Why? Daniel stretched out his hand. Toss me a coin. Why? I asked. Humor me, he said. I shrugged and untied the thin thread that was holding the opening of the leather bag shut, keeping the golden coin secure. I stuck my 2 fingers in and plucked the coin and threw it to Dan, and he caught it in his left palm. He examined it as we continued to walk down the street as carriages, coal miners, musketeers, and women passed us by. He bit down on it, and I was afraid he was going to break his tooth. Not fake. Also, Marquis knew what he was talking about. He gave us the right currency, and Van der Verliede minted his own. Look. Daniel tossed me the coin, and I caught it. I looked at the tiny gold coin as a chubby old man's face sat upon it. He was bald on the top and had stringy hair flowing down the back. No beard either. His face was turned sideways. That's him? I asked. Oh, ugly bastard, isn't he? If that is what he looks like on the coin, I'm worried I'll faint from his looks in person. The point is, lads, this is a powerful man, so we must tread lightly. Daniel added. I tossed the coin to Tim, who studied the money. I see. If he is this well known, he must have the Inquisition right behind him. The Inquisition? Why have I not heard or killed them yet? Daniel questioned. You don't know the Dutch Inquisition? Tim asked. You think I've been reading out of a prayer book my whole life? Enlighten me, Timmy boy. He snickered. The Dutch Inquisition is the king's royal army, and to his protection and safety. He pays them, and in return they protect him, his title, his money, and the city, Tim said. So they're his mother, Daniel asked. Precisely. They're in charge of locking up people like us, so we must avoid them as much as we can, I said. Agreed. Now where's this clothing store? Daniel asked. We need one, Tim added. As we took a ride down the cobbled street with brown brick buildings rising up on either side of us, as dogs ran past us barking, I spotted a fashion bouquet. Oi, there, I pointed. We entered the small shop through a squeaky wooden door with a glass panel on the half front of the door. Inside was a beautiful collection of fashionable accessories and clothing. From colourful cloth shirts, leather pants, scarves, caps, boots, belts, underscarves, coats, trench coats, gloves, undergarments, along with intricate string dresses with teal and gold and purple designs that sat alike in the rows of the shop. It wasn't much inside. Other than the rows of clothes stacked up and hung was a wooden desk in the back with jars in the back full of coin and an older man staring at us. He was a tiny old man with skinny arms, a skinny torso, a fat head and beady eyes, wearing a blue cap and a black buttoned shirt. I could tell the man was judging us from our rags, eyeing us trying to figure out if we were going to steal the clothing. I noticed he had a green stripe along his left shoulder. My heart stopped knowing that was a member of the Musketeers of the Inquisition run by Van. As the man turned to fold some clothes, his back turned to us, I elbowed Dan and Tim. He has a green stripe. I strained. So, what if he had a yellow stripe? Would you be worrying? Daniel asked.
Tim's eyes widened.
No, Henry is right. The mark of the Inquisition. If he catches we in English without letters of mark, he will report us, Tim whispered.
He finished with the clothes and faced us. Daniel approached him.
Good evening, sir. We would like to purchase some of your fine cloth. Trying to sound in a Dutch accent. The old man raised an eyebrow. That's a peculiar accent. Where are you from? Denmark, Daniel grinned nervously. We were already done for.
Denmark. Hidden port. The old haberdashery lad questioned.
I mean, yes, Daniel said, smiling through yellow teeth.
If so, why didn't you address me in Dutch or a common tongue? The man asked. Daniel froze.
Well, I thought I'd try my English out for a try.
You're English? Or you have Dutch and English? The man wondered.
Yes, I am, Daniel grinned.
The man pointed to me and Tim. Who are they then? Daniel looked at us and I met his eyes, glaring at him for screwing this up. He turned back to the man.
My brothers!
You don't look like brothers to me, the old man said sternly.
Well, you see,
The old man darted past Daniel, pushing him to the side. He slammed open his glass door and began to scream. The traitors! English folk! In my store! Here! Pirates!
Shit! Tim yelled.
Stop him!
Sorry. I keep coughing. I got something in my throat. I feel bad.
Okay.
Screamed. Here! Someone! The man continued to scream. Fuck! Grab him! I yelled.
I got him!
Daniel yelped, lunging forward, gripping a hold of the man's round waist. Daniel lifted him up with such ease, it was as if the man was a feather. Help! Let me go, you bastard! The man squealed. Shut him up! Tim yelled. Fuck! Daniel yelled as the old man bit down hard on Daniel's left arm, making Daniel dropping the man as he fell to his side. He scrambled up and began running towards the door to escape. We can't let him alert the soldiers! I yelled. I heaved forward, but tripped, only grabbing the man's boot tip, making him face plant. Tim struggled over me as I lay on the wood and dragged the man back in as he kicked and screamed. Daniel quickly, without thinking, pulled out a small dagger. Someone help! Pirates here! Pirates! Suddenly the man went to choking as Daniel slashed his dagger across the man's gullet. Blood sprayed onto Tim and my shirt as the man coughed on his own blood. Tim and I dropped him as he fell to the floor, choking and coughing on blood as he looked up at us. Blood poured out of his lined slit neck, and then he died as the blood ran red into a puddle on the wood waxed floor of the clothing shop. Daniel wiped his dagger and put it back to his belt. What the fuck, Dan? We killed him! I didn't want to kill that poor man! I shouted in anger. He wouldn't shut up, Daniel said. And what do you do when someone won't be quiet? When giving away our location? You kill them. Damn it, now we have a body, I groaned. And covered in blood, Tim worryingly brought up. My shirt was drenched in red, warm blood dripping down the sides. Hi, we were getting a new set of clothes anyway, Daniel said. We stuffed the dead body behind a couple of coats, thick as wool, to hide him, and wiped the blood up with our white shirts. Then we paced the clothing store, all three of us shirtless, looking for some clothes to pick. I surveyed the stacks of linen for what would be a good fit on me. The cabinets were lined with petticoats, white cloth shirts, blue or red. Fluffy scarves and warm wool breeches were folded neatly in the cabinets that surrounded us in this small clothing shop. I slipped off my breeches and chose a clean pair of brown leather pants and slipped them on and buttoned them. I slung a belt around my waist and tightened the waistband. It felt smoother on my legs and more comfortable to my hips. I slipped on a nice white cotton shirt and pulled over that a long blue coat that fell to my lower back. I tied a red scarf around my neck and tucked it under the collar of my white shirt. I picked out a shiny, clean pair of black, sleek boots. I stared at myself in the mirror in the back and pushed my long brown hair behind my ears, and I could see the scruff forming around my face. I looked rough, and I hadn't looked at myself truly for a few months. My keen blue eyes held stress and pain inside, for I was conflicted.
Okay.
on where to go from here and what would become of my future. Other than some scars on my forearms and a bruise on the side of my neck, I looked quite fine.
How about these breeches?
Asked Daniel as he walked naked across the planks in the store. He was gripping a clean pressed pair of wool pants. His muscular body was lined with scars from the rough sea storms we sailors have to endure from time to time, and battles with a cutlass or a burning flare of a musket rope. I could see his hips were wide, and his penis dangled between his hairy legs. I snickered. I'd put your throbbing willy away before a skank comes running. Daniel shot me a look of a raised eyebrow.
Wouldn't be so bad, eh?
He said, slipping on the pants. Daniel grabbed him a blue royal long-sleeve shirt and tucked it in under his belt. His leather pants were tight upon his thick legs, and the blue shirt stuck to his torso like glue. His long, shaggy black locks fell down to his shoulder blades, curling at the ends. I picked up a white thread from a small thread basket of small strings and tied my long hair behind my head into a firm bun. Daniel scratched his black beard that covered most of his face as he gazed upon his figure in the glass mirror.
Not so bad, he grinned to himself. He then faced me. We should be getting Bowery girls in no time, dancing them in the halls of golden ballrooms. I laughed.
If only you could dance.
I can dance, sort of. Shouldn't be too difficult to learn. Besides, I don't need twists and turns of swooning a lassie.
He smiled, flexing his big biceps, making blue veins pop on his skin. Yes, because your muscular form will make every woman fall for you. I snickered, walking over, strapping my cutlass to my right side of my leather-bound belt.
"'Tis be the truth, lad,"
Big Dan said, wrapping his flintlock pistol to his left, making sure the powder was set in the metal container. I heard the clatter of boots stomp our way from behind us. I spun around to see young Timothy in the most well-fitted outfit I'd seen him in yet, and even better than Marquis' outfit, and Marquis never looked unfashionable. How do I look? Timothy spread his arms either side of him as if he was embracing us with a hug. The young lad had a collection of assortments upon his being. His outfit attire was a roughly white silken shirt that was cut off at the elbows. Over his white shirt was a tan patterned vest, designed buttoned-up, and his long, slender leather moleskins stretched over his brown boots. A belt was wrapped around his waist with his cutlass strapped to his right side, and 2 flintlock pistols fastened to his left hip. His blonde hair was done in a ponytail that reached to his neck. He was still waiting for a comment, since we had been staring at him blankly for a few seconds. Well, he astounded out.
"You look fantastic, me young lad. Better than at Marquis' dinner," Daniel smiled.
"I picked it out myself with the help of my lovely Eleanor, aiding me from afar," he laughed. "She taught you well. Quite the assortment of clothing," I smiled. I picked up a blue cap and slapped it atop my brown hair, moving it aside. We all 3 stood in front of a big, wide mirror. We smiled to ourselves, seeing that our outfits fitted us quite perfectly. This was the best dressed clothing we had worn for quite a few months, and it felt clean to get out of those dirty old rags aboard the French vessel. "Come on, let's head to the tavern and scope for a crew," I said as I began to head for the shopkeeper's door. I placed my hand on the door, pushing it halfway open before Daniel said,
"We just killed a man who owned this clothing store. Are we sure we should be looking for a crew now?"
I turned from the door. "Firstly, you killed him. Second, we need a crew, Dan." "How are we going to get a crew, let alone find the right men to board a mighty ship?" Tim questioned. Timothy was right. It was hard enough to find the right crew of ruffians to sail in these waters. It was even harder to find men you could trust. Then an idea formed inside my creative brain.
"I have an idea."
So we're an hour in. So this is where they're about to meet Finn. I don't know why I keep coughing. I have something caught in my throat. So I'm gonna ask the stream what you would like me to do. So we're 59 minutes and 26 seconds counting. So should we listen to a bit more, or should we go through and just get through chapters out of it? Type in the chat what you would prefer. Either way, okay. Well, I apologize again for coughing. I just don't know. I just got something caught in my throat. I hope it's not disturbing the audiobook listening. Let's see. Okay, good 30 pages in this tavern. Let's see. So we're technically 4 hours and 28 minutes of the 19 hours, guys. Pretty crazy. So, I mean, I hope you guys are liking the listening to the audiobook live so far. It is 11:32 for me. I mean, I'm not tired at all, but because I just don't know if I should just split chapter 7 into 2 parts because it's just very long. This is a hard decision indeed. Yeah, let me see what the chat says. Just wait. Or we could. I'm enjoying it, but I'm going to bed. Sorry, good night. Oh, okay. Okay. So let me. Either we won't listen to the whole thing. I'll just split it into 2 parts because it's pretty long. It's got it would take me about another hour and 30 minutes to get through it. So I'm deciding either we stop it now or we just listen to the tavern part and then stop it. What do you think? Bedtime. Okay. Okay. So we're just going to end it here. So because it is a very, very long chapter. So sorry that we're ending it here. I know I planned to do the entire 7th chapter in this one, but it is getting pretty late and it's got about another hour and 30 minutes left to do it. So we will schedule for chapter 7 part 2 on a separate stream and then continue with chapter 8, 9, so forth, and other streams. So thank you for joining the stream tonight. I'm sorry that I'm ending it here because, but I am actually a little tired. And I will plan to do the stream probably later this week or in the weekend. We can continue chapter 7. So thank you for joining. Make sure to subscribe to become a Jack Lantern, leave a like, and I will see you guys this weekend for the next stream of chapter 7 part 2. So thank you for joining the stream, and I will see you guys. I probably cannot do a stream tomorrow or Friday because it's Christmas, but probably Saturday we can do one. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good night.